Pep Guardiola's tenure at Bayern Munich revolutionized German football, blending tactical sophistication with relentless pressure of success. Guardiola won 3 Bundesliga titles in 3 years playing attractive possession football. Pep Guardiola's 4-1-4-1 system was the bedrock of Bayern's dominance, characterized by fluidity and positional interchangeability. During that time, the role of David Alaba as well as Lahm were very good, in fact world-class at being able to overlap the wingers. But with Pep Guardiola's system, he had now instructed them to have a much more narrow approach and looking to invert into the midfield area. Now moving on to the tactics, starting off with the tactical vision, which will be set to wing play. Now, essentially, Pep Guardiola modeled his Bayern side around the wingers in Arjen Robben and Frank Ribéry, relying on their pace and skill in the wider zones. By stretching the opposition horizontally, Bayern created space in the central areas for its midfielders to exploit. The inverted fullbacks played a pivotal role, tucking inside to overload the midfield and provide passing options. Therefore, this enhanced the control that Bayern Munich would have in games. Now, moving on to the defense and the defensive style, which is set to press after possession loss. More so, when they did lose the ball, Pep immediately wanted his counter-pressing system to be activated, throwing bodies higher up the field, allowing them to compress and almost suffocate the opposition. And that goes hand in hand with the aggressive high line set to 80. It can help with ball retention, circulating play, but at the same time, when pressing high up the field, it more or less compacts the opposition, forcing errors, forcing mistakes, and again, forcing turnovers to more or less restore the ball back into Bayern's possession. As well as with the aggressive press, they would also look to compact more centrally, looking to set pressing traps in the central zones. Now moving on to the offense and the build-up play going forward, which will be set to slow build-up. Guardiola's sides of the past and currently are very well focused on slow build-up play, looking to utilize the full extent of the pitch to maintain control of the game. The slow build-up play allowed the team to establish a rhythm and draw the opposition out of their more natural positions, their natural defensive structure, and it allowed Bayern Munich's midfield as well as the wingers and the striker to exploit their defensive line as well as the midfield areas with incisive, intricate passing. Now moving on to the chance creation, which will be set to possession, which is emphasized by the fluid passing patterns in the central zones. Another reason as to why Pep wanted his fullbacks to invert, essentially overloading the midfield with extra bodies and passing options. For the team's offensive width, it should be set to 60, allowing for a good condensed structure in the midfield area, allowing for the midfield as well as the 2 inverted fullbacks to combine quite nicely, stringing together good solid passing sequences, as well as vacating those wider channels for the wingers to potentially go ahead and attack. With the players in the box being set to 7, 3 to 4 players need to be in and around that final third at all times. Mainly Thomas Müller needs to be playing off of the shoulder of the striker, so you want him incorporated into that final third attacking outlet. More so waiting in the box for the crosses. Bayern under Pep Guardiola crossed the ball a lot into the box, looking to try and supply the likes of Robert Lewandowski, Thomas Müller, or maybe even one of the wingers. And then finally onto the corners and the free kicks, and as for always, it will be set to 4. Now taking a look at the individual player instructions, starting off at the back with Manuel Neuer, who will be set to come for crosses, looking to try and minimize the threats from those crosses and cutbacks fired into the box. At the same time, you want him to be a sweeper keeper, looking to try and minimize the space and the threats in behind your backline, looking to also try and shrink the field as much as possible. You would also want and require the likes of Manuel Neuer to build a platform for the offense to build up off of. He is going to be absolutely essential in beating the opposition's first line press. Now moving on to your 2 centre backs, who will be tasked with the base set of instructions. The likes of Dante as well as Jerome Boateng were very good at being able to collect the ball off of the goalkeeper and progress it further forward, and it was a requirement that Pep wanted from his side, especially with the ability for them to create overloads in the central zones and of course higher up the field with their ability to carry the ball further forward. As for your 2 fullbacks, both will be set to join the attack. You want the likes of a David Alaba and a Philipp Lahm. In this case, it's a Kimmich and a Davies, bombing further forward and getting into that, more attacking advanced area into the midfield, essentially because they will also be told to invert. You want them making those central runs, combining with the other midfielders in and around them. It is absolutely essential that this occurs so that they can provide passing options for the other midfielders. As you'll see here for the left back, he's got the same role of join the attack as well as invert. Now moving on to the defensive midfielder, which was Xabi Alonso, and we know that from past experiences with Guardiola's systems as well as the current ones with Man City and Rodri, Guardiola highly relies on the DM to more or less orchestrate the play as well as dictate the tempo. So in order to replicate that role for Xabi Alonso very effectively, his defensive behavior will be set to balance, allowing him to maintain the more natural shape in those central areas of the field, as well as the attacking support will be set to balance, sometimes breaking further forward, providing an extra attacking element further up the field. With the inverted fullbacks, he will be covered very nicely, as well as sometimes he can also choose to stay further back, as well as just, run the play, rotate possession in those more central areas. The interceptions will be set to conservative, as well as the positioning freedom will be set to deep line playmaker. Just as the likes of Boateng and Dante would show for the ball, you also want Xabi Alonso to potentially, in certain moments, also pop up in the half spaces, show for the ball, collect it, and then look to progress the ball further forward. The defensive positioning is set to cover the center, looking just to man in front of that back four area. Now moving further forward to your two central midfielders in Thomas Muller as well as Thiago Alcantara. They did have slightly different roles, which we will talk about shortly. Of course, Thomas Muller was more of the attacking midfielder of the three, looking to almost play as a secondary striker in certain moments, where Thiago could fulfill that role, as well as dropping a bit deeper and looking to help the likes of Xabi Alonso dictate the tempo of the game. You want both of these midfielders having a nice free roaming role, allowing them to drift all over the field, as well as creating fluid transitions for the attacking outlets. So in order to create Thomas Muller's role, he'll be set to get forward as well as getting into the box, looking to attack those central zones as best as possible, playing as a secondary striker just off of the shoulder of a Robert Lewandowski, or in this case a Harry Kane. The interceptions will be set to normal, as well as the defensive positioning will be set to cover the wing. And like I've mentioned earlier, both Guerrero and Muller in this system, they'll have a nice free-flowing, fluid role going forward, looking to pop up in the half spaces and looking to try and facilitate and create for the wingers as well as the striker. Now, as for the likes of Guerrero / Thiago Alcantara, he'll be set to stay back while attacking. Now, he could, of course, get forward and be a bit more attacking in certain moments, and he will still tend to do this. But more so if the likes of a Davies does bomb further forward and, overlap the likes of a Thiago or Guerrero, you do want him to try and slot a bit deeper and look to try and cover that position. The support on crosses is set to, stay on the edge of the box, looking to try and facilitate a bit more, rotate the play as effectively and efficiently as possible. The interceptions will be set to normal, as well as the defensive positioning set to also cover the wing. And then, of course, finally, he will be set to free roam. Okay, now out wide to your two wingers, who will have the same roles and instructions going forward. They'll both be set to a basic defensive support. Sometimes they are allowed to drop a bit deeper, help support the defense, other times staying further up the field. The chance creation will be set to stay wide. You more naturally will have inverted fullbacks, so you need a bit of width generated in your side, and that will be the likes of a Ribéry on the left-hand side, and of course an Arjen Robben on the right. You also want them to have that width so that they can facilitate the underlapping runs of either the fullbacks or even the two number 8s. Most importantly though, you want the likes of a Ribéry as well as a Robben to try and use their pace in behind, exploiting and penetrating the opposition's back line. Both the interceptions will be set to aggressive, allowing them to implement that aggressive first line press, as well as both of them will look to try and arc the runs into the attacking zone for the cutbacks and of course the crosses. As you'll see here for the right midfielder, he'll have the same role and instructions as well. Now moving on to your number 9, and of course many people questioned whether Guardiola could fit with a Robert Lewandowski. Of course, moving from Barcelona where he mainly played a false 9 system, many people were like, well, Lewandowski is a natural number 9, can he fit alongside a Pep Guardiola system? And essentially Lewandowski fulfilled his natural number 9 role, scored the goals, was the focal point in the attack, but he also added elements to his game, more so the ability to not just maintain that central role, but also drift along the back line, which is why we set it to balanced. As well as with the balanced play, you want him to be able to play as a false 9, not essentially always being the focal point, but sometimes dropping a bit deeper, getting on the ball, vacating that central attacking role for the likes of a Thomas Muller to maybe work his way into, or maybe one of the wingers to also, arc their runs into those more central attacking zones. And more so as well, link up the play with the midfield and the wingers. The interceptions will be set to aggressive, looking to implement that first line of press like I've mentioned, as well as the defensive support will be set to basic. Now moving on to the 2-3-4-1 system, more so this was the structure that Pep Guardiola's side would look to revert into on a consistent basis once they had settled into the game. What this would do is it would allow the fullbacks to be a consistent threat in the central zones, allowing them to play as wingbacks and also pushing players further up the field. This would aid with the ball retention as well as the high counter press. Now moving on to the tactics, and the only thing that has changed will be the team's depth. Now it is set to 90, and this can help with the offense, the ball retention, as well as creating waves of pressure on the opposition. But otherwise, there'll be no major changes made to the tactics. Now taking a look at the individual player instructions for the 2-3-4-1 shape, and more so the two wingbacks do have slightly differing roles. The likes of Alaba would be set to join the attack as well as having a mixed run type, sometimes providing an overlapping run down at the left-hand side. Both of your fullbacks, however, will be set to step up, and this will help with the counter-pressing system in those central zones. As you'll see for the role of Kimmich/Lahm, he is set to a bit more of a balanced, conservative attacking approach. Sometimes he can, develop further forward, but other times he can also choose to stay further back and help assist, dictating the pace of play with the likes of Xabi Alonso. The run type will still be set to invert, as well as the defensive position will still be set to step up. The other change that we also see is the likes of the left midfielder. It will now be set to a balanced width, allowing him to sometimes drift more centrally, vacating that wider left channel for the likes of a Davies or an Alaba to overlap and break down, and obviously supply crosses and cutbacks into the box. Otherwise, there are no other changes to his natural instructions. And finally, the other change that we do see is the likes of Harry Kane/Robert Lewandowski. In this system, he would more so look to try and take up a mixed approach, where he doesn't always have to drop down and play as a false nine, but he can also choose to be a bit more of a target man, hold up the play, link it up very effectively with the wingers, the other midfielders, and of course the wing backs, and also make sure that he is the focal point of the attack going forward. Now, taking a look at the 4-5-1 defensive structure. When Pep Guardiola's side went without the ball for prolonged periods of time, he would more or less look to try and set out his team in this shape and style of play, making sure that it was very compact in the central zones, making it very hard to try and break down for the opposition. There are going to be a few changes to the tactics, starting off with the defensive style, which will be set to pressure on heavy touch, making sure that the structure of the side was very much intact at all times, and then if the opponent went ahead and made a mistake, the team would look to latch onto that mistake and create a counter-attacking opportunity. The team's width is still set to 25, but the depth, however, is now set to a mid-block at 45, looking to just drop a bit deeper and minimize the threat in behind the back line. The offensive outlet is now set to a balanced build-up play, allowing them to incorporate the long ball approach. Of course, Xabi Alonso was very good at being able to collect the ball and then switch the play into one of the wingers who would be sometimes looking to break in behind. So you want to try and incorporate that, as well as the fast build-up play approach. The transgression will be set to direct passing, which will allow your wingers as well as your striker to try and penetrate the opposition's backline, exploit the space in behind as much as possible. The team's width will still be set to 60, as well as the players in the box now at a reduced rate set to 5, allowing for 2 to 3 players to be in those attacking zones, waiting for the crosses and the cutbacks still. Finally, the corners and the free kicks will also be set to 4. Now, taking a look at the individual player instructions, the only real changes that do occur are slightly higher up the field. The other players will still maintain their more natural, balanced instructions. So, for the likes of Muller, the only change that we do see is the attacking support will be set to balance, allowing him to sometimes break forward and still support the attack, but other times looking to just have a bit more of a defensive awareness to his game. The two wingers will also have one change, and that will be the comeback on defense approach, looking to just drop back and help support the fullbacks in certain moments. And then, of course, the likes of a Harry Kane, he will now be reverted back into a false nine, looking to drop a bit deeper, as well as the defensive support will be set to come back on defense. And there you go, guys. That is how I would implement Pep Guardiola's Bayern Munich tactics into the current Bayern Munich side in FC24. I hope you have enjoyed this Throwback Thursday. Please don't forget to smash that like button and do all that good stuff. You guys can also let me know, though, down below in the comment section if you really like the system. For me personally, I absolutely love it, and I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 rating. The midfield fluidity with the compactness and the addition of the inverted fullbacks really does create a nice dominance approach. I will say that the two centre-backs is quite worrying at times, but it does allow you to have a really good attacking outlet. So you might concede 1 or 2 sloppy goals if you lose concentration, but essentially the attacking outlet and the attacking dominance that you have with the side is fantastic. The ability for the striker to drop a bit deeper, link up the play, drop into that midfield area, allowing for the wingers to also maintain a more central attacking approach. Thomas Muller also interchanging with Harry Kane every now and then. It works out so well. So you guys can let me know, though, down below in the comment section, and we will hop on straight into the goddamn gameplay. Okay, people, so moving on to the gameplay. Now, obviously, with this segment of the video, I talked to you guys about what you should expect, how you should more or less look to try and set out the individual teams that we go ahead and make and create, and all those good tactics, and more so the Pep Guardiola tactics for this Bayern Munich side. Now, I will be trialing something different. Obviously, in previous videos that we've been doing this in, I've gone one half with the 4-1-4-1 shape and the other half with the other shape, right? For example, in this game, once we've settled into the gameplay, I will be converting the 4-1-4-1 shape into the more offensive 2-3-4-1 system. That was a great cross. So yeah, it will more or less be how Pep Guardiola expected his team to set out when obviously during his time at Bayern Munich. So once they settled into the game, 10 minutes into the pace of play, you would then see the fullbacks inverting into the midfield. You would then see the likes of Ribery drifting in and out of those wider channels. So that's what we're going to try to do here. Just establish a good rhythm to the game, maintain possession as much as possible. Great ball in from Robert Lewandowski into Koeman, who puts the ball. Oh my goodness me, Kubel makes a great save. I almost said puts the ball in the back of the net. But a great way to unlock the defense. Great run from the winger and a great attacking outlet down the left-hand side. Just rotate the play here yet again. Look at that back post run. Oh my goodness. Good ball. Not too bad. Back in there. Good ball yet again. Just rotating the play on the edge of the box. Oh my goodness me, and Muller has done some damage from distance there. Kubel makes another great save. Okay, we've got Sane set to whip it in. Let's not forget that... Okay, well, if that landed on the head of Kane, I would have been very impressed. Davies. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, we are definitely, establishing ourselves here, breaking down the Borussia Dortmund's rhythm and their game plan, and more or less elevating our own in a way. So we will be converting it into the 2-3-4-1 shape, which you will see a lot more inverting into the midfield from your fullbacks, a lot more attacking in those central zones, a lot more of an overload in the central zones as well. So more passing options, a lot more, winger inverting here. Almost. Bang, bang. Kimmich looking to supply a great outlet down this right-hand side. Squares it. And that's such a good defensive battle there. Well won from Lima. Plays into Muller. Well done there from Xabi Alonso / Lima. Good ball. Solid. Great first. That's one-touch football. That is Pep Guardiola-esque type football, might I say. Little one-touch passing in those, higher up the field zones. One-touch play into the striker, bangs it home. And that was essentially Bayern Munich in a nutshell. Fantastic little bit of build-up play. The likes of your inverted fullback, slightly higher and wider, putting players out of position from those central zones, operating with quick passes, and then exploiting the space. And you have a lethal finisher in a Harry Kane or a Robert Lewandowski during that time. And more or less, that's what you want to try and do. Now, I have heard that Pep Guardiola has been linked with a move back to Bayern. He has come out and said he's very happy at City and all that good stuff. So it will be very interesting. I don't think that he would leave. I think the Premier League for Pep Guardiola is like the holy grail of sporting achievements at the moment. But it works out quite well, if you ask me. Good tackle there from the fullback into the goalkeeper, who will then look to play it out calmly through the press of the opposition. Into the DM. And now we can look to facilitate further ball movements. Little passes in and around the offensive third. I've made a horrendous mistake there. And as you'll see, we are somewhat susceptible to the counter-attack, which is exactly what was the key flaw in Bayern Munich's side when they went up against Real Madrid and they ended up losing. Ronaldo and Benzema with Bale up front, it was tickets. So you will still be susceptible to that, so it's important to, again, retain possession as best as possible. You do have some good recovery pace, though, with the likes of Davies. he is very much a cheat code with this system. Good ball through the lines. Looking to switch the play into Ribery. Brilliance. What can he do here? Combining very well with Sane. Couldn't get it to go, though. Great tackle from Kimmich. And Sancho on the ball there. Does very well to carry it. But the right back doing his job offensively, defensively, everywhere. But yeah, not a bad first half. We could have had a couple of goals there, but we do have a single goal lead going into the break. Now, obviously, we'll talk about the halftime stats and how we may have fared throughout the first half of that game. Okay, so taking a look at some of the stats at the break, and the possession stats are absolutely crazy. 77% possession in our favor versus Borussia Dortmund's 23. Now, I do think that in the second half, they will make adequate adjustments in order to balance that out a fair amount. But we've had 5 shots to their 0. We've had higher expected goals to their 0. Almost 4 or more than 4 times the amount of passes. Double the tackles won. Interceptions, we've had more. We've just been an absolutely dominant Bayern Munich side under Pep Guardiola, absolutely laying the ground rules for the game so far. And I do think it has helped with the fact that we have converted into the more aggressive attacking style of play with the 2-3-4-1 shape. It has worked. It has overloaded the Dortmund midfield. We've had a lot of passing options in and around those central zones, breaking up their play as well. So the counter press has been very efficient and effective. So it's working very, very nicely. As you'll see here for the possession, we've had a lot of the possession around their box in that final third area, down the left-hand side, a lot in the more central zones. Harry Kane combining with, the likes of a Muller, a Guerrero, even the likes of Konrad Laimer, who has also drifted slightly higher up the field. They haven't had much possession themselves. A lot of it has been in the central areas where they then eventually lost the ball because we've overloaded that area, won it back nicely, and then circulated back into our possession. So very impressed with the possession at halftime. Okay, and then finally taking a look at the passes, we've maintained a lot of passes in those central zones, which is exactly what you want. A lot of the vacated space in the wider areas has been exploited very efficiently and effectively with those wider passes to the likes of a Coman and even a Leroy Sané. And that's more or less how you're looking to try and set out and play. You do have a very weak backline area with only 2 defenders. So you are susceptible to the counterattacks, which we have been able to break up very efficiently and effectively. But it is a disclaimer with this set of tactics and system that you shouldn't always look to use it. Maybe against a team that's going to dominate possession, you still stick with the 4-1-4-1 shape, and then you can look to play around from there. But we've done a very good job so far, I will say that. We've completed 77 out of 82 passes. That is sensational. Okay, so for the second half now, I'm going to convert it back into the 4-1-4-1 shape just to try and, have a bit more of a defensive stability, look to try and settle back into the game. And then, again, once the game plan is more or less set in stone and we've we've established another, good rhythm to the flow of the game, we will then convert it back into the natural, more attacking, aggressive style of football. Good play there in between the lines. Harry Kane dropping slightly deeper. Look at Thomas Muller making those advanced runs further forward. Bang, bang, bang. Almost sliding it in for the striker there. Would have been something special. But you see, this is exactly what I mean, because they will look to be a bit more aggressive, a bit more of an attacking outlet as the second half begins. Sancho looking to almost exploit us. But because we haven't really gone ahead and gone balls to the walls and tried to attack them off the bat, we've managed to just, prevent a few mishaps from happening. Good. Oh, I was not fast enough there. If I'd had that one-touch passage of play, we would have literally unlocked their defense so easily. Daniel Marlin, a lot of pace down the right-hand flank for them. He's putting a good ball. Oh my goodness me. And that's why Manuel Neuer, yes, I know he made a mistake last night in the Champions League, but that's why Manuel Neuer will go down as one of the best keepers of all time. Look at that save. That is incredible. That is creeping in at the near post. Anyways, a bit of, fight back from Dortmund, which is why we're still in the 4-1-4-1 shape. A good punch from Manuel Neuer. Headers it. Oh, what can Daniel Marlin do here? Good block. How has that happened? How has that happened? Nice and calm under pressure. There we go. Sabitzer almost. Leroy Sané making the run more centrally, arcing his run very effectively. Can't get it to go. Okay, we will convert ourselves into the more attacking outlet now, looking for a bit more support higher up the field. A great win, by the way, from Thomas Muller. Into Harry Kane, drives into the box, places a shot, and Krubel makes another good save. But we've won it back here. Why would you just throw it to my player? It's very weird. But you know what? You want to do that, bro? You do that. Good ball. Good ball. Look at Dortmund. They're being compacted in their box now. A lot of quick touches. You need to be very quick with this. Otherwise, certain passages of play and passing options do eradicate themselves. Great run. Oh my goodness me. And it could have been two. A great inverted fullback run slightly further up the field. Philip Lahm / Joshua Kimmich leathering it against the post. Kubel was beaten, all ends up, but the post was not. And I think we've got ourselves a corner kick now. Can we string together something here very decent in the attacking zone? It's a great header away. You can't fault the defensive header there, but we are going to be a little bit susceptible, possibly, depending on how many men they throw forward, to the possible counter-attack, which they haven't really used. Oh, I lied. They may have. Boys, get back into your defensive shape. Watch that back post area. That's just well reading of the game. That's what that is. Intercepting passes, displaying calmness under pressure. That's what you want. That's grown man moves right there. Muller doing a great job. Seeing the likes of Kimmich. Kimmich making that overlapping run. Not really well known for that. Oh my goodness me. That could have been something special too. 85 minutes gone by. We should have scored so many more goals. Like, honestly, people, we could have scored so much more. Davies looking to cover. Emre Can looking to go back to the likes of Ryerson. Looking to try and stretch our defense, but look who's there. Guerrero / Thiago Alcantara looking to come back a bit more. Help out on the defensive end. We've got the likes of Coman. He's made a run. Puts the fullback on his backside, and he's popped off a shot, and Kubel has been there to secure a fantastic save, and it's still 1-0. They're replacing Martin with Ben Sabani. Kimmich set to take it. Of course, Lahm was a great set-piece taker back in the day. It falls, edge of the box, rotates it nicely. Muller's there, shot gets blocked, and that should be full time on the classic. Fantastic, a good game. We probably should have scored a lot more goals. I have scored quite a few goals in the past when using this system, so you will definitely be guaranteed goals. We've absolutely dominated this this Borussia Dortmund side from minute 1 all the way through to minute 91. Sensational stuff. I hope you guys have enjoyed the tactics and the video and all that good stuff. And if you don't mind, again, smashing that like button down below, subscribing. And of course, until the next time, until the next one, I hope you have a goddamn great day, and I'm out of here.